Yeah! Get excited, everybody. Yes, it is time. We are here. It is UFC 309 Fight Night. The UFC returning to Madison Square Garden, the Mecca in New York City. Jon Jones is back. Stipe Miocic is back. Michael Chandler is back. And he's fighting Charles Oliveira in a fight that is just going to be absolutely incredible. It is a pretty, it's not the most stacked main card of all time. Obviously, when Jon Jones fights, it's a very big deal. The co-main event is incredible. Bo Nickel, Paul Craig is interesting. We got Mauricio Ruffy, who is a minus 1,300 favorite right now. And then we do have a pivotal flyweight fight between Viviane Araújo and Karine Silva. And all of that is going down at UFC 309. And we welcome you to the People's Pre-Fight Show. I thought the baddest stash in MMA, Casey Weidman, was going to be joining us, but I just realized he wasn't going to be joining us. So we had to whip together this new link here on the old StreamYard. We got the fancy camera. I haven't really figured out all the bells and whistles yet, but it's working. It's working. So once we get to the watch party at 9:45 p.m. Eastern, it's probably going to look pretty spectacular. So glad you're all here. Hope you're all well rested. Hope you're all better rested than I following last night's craziness, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and kind of went the way that it was. And yeah. Oh, I see the Diet Coke can right there. I did have a Diet Coke. Someone asking, where's Jed? He will be here for the watch party. He's not required to be here all day and all night. So he will be here for the watch party. And that's going to start at 9:45. We'll watch the fights together. It's going to be a grand old time. Prelims for the UFC card starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to just answer questions up until then. I'll give my main card picks, all of those fun things, and we will get after this. And of course, super chatters get to the front of the line. So if you guys get some super chats, fire them in there. We'll get them up there. We'll answer the questions, and then we will dive through some of the rest of the stuff. So here we go. Shout out to The Last Stand. Like Paul versus Tyson, is this UFC event going to be a fun undercard with the sad main event? I wouldn't say the Tyson-Paul card was a fun undercard. Most of the fights were forgettable. The main card, the first fight was awful. The Whindersson-Nunes fight. The main event was what it was. Pretty awful. But expected. It's what we told you was the hope through all of this, and it delivered in that aspect. The middle two main card fights were spectacular. Those are really, really good. So I truly don't know what's going to happen with this main event. I feel like Jon is just going to tackle him and beat him, but I got to keep the vibes high, right? Because nothing would be funnier. There would be nothing funnier that has happened in the history of the UFC, the history of mixed martial arts. Hell, I'll even go as far to say the history of combat sports than Stipe knocking out Jon Jones tonight. It will make for the most electric moment ever on this website, ever on this YouTube channel during the watch party if Stipe knocks out Jon Jones, and it will also set up the greatest post-fight show that has ever happened for this website. So let's all keep the vibes high. Stipe looks good, man. He looks in great shape. He looks way better than Mike Tyson looks. 42 is not 58. So who the hell knows? Jon's been out for a while. Jon beat Cyril Gane, which is a super favorable matchup for him. Stipe's more well-rounded than he's getting credit for this week. So let's keep the vibes high. Maybe things will happen. Maybe it'll get super weird, and super weird is good. Super weird is very, very good, and we like when that happens. So, but I actually think this card as a whole is going to be pretty fun. There's not a ton of exciting, huge fights. There's some good fights. I think the main card is going to be really fun. I'm predicting we get finishes in 4 of the 5 fights on the main card. What is the sleeper fight of the night? I've been going with Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee all week. I think that fight is really, really good. I think we're going to learn a lot about Marcus McGee tonight. Marcus McGee's the favorite. He has not fought anybody near as good as Jonathan Martinez throughout his career. He's looked great in the UFC, but this is a huge step up in competition for him. Jonathan Martinez has fought really good dudes, just fought Jose Aldo, and yeah, he lost, and he clearly lost, but it's not like he got the doors blown off of him in that fight. So I like that fight a lot. Yeah, that's a really good one. What else we got? Try to dig a little. I mean, I'm curious about how Chris Weidman looks against Eric Anders. Jim Miller, Damon Jackson's great. Mickey Gall's first fight in a year since becoming a dad. So looking forward to that. Obot Elliott is back. So there are some interesting fights here, but I'm going with Martinez and Marcus McGee. 5 more minutes of my lunch break. Casey is not here. Hopefully, maybe we'll get some insight from him in the post-fight show. Mike, explain why those first 2 pay-per-view fights are on an MSG card. I mean, we know why the first fight is there. Mauricio Rufy is going to destroy James Lontop, and it's going to be a big finish, and it's just going to set the table. Viviane Araújo and Karine Silva is like, in terms of rankings and meritocracy, like that is maybe the 3rd most important fight on this entire card when it comes to that. So I think it's, you kind of start off with a quick finish and a highlight, and then you go to a competitive fight with some storylines and some stakes. And then we get to Bo Nickel and Paul Craig, which is a fight people care about. And then we get to the co-main event, which is going to rule. And then we'll get to whatever John Jones and Stipe Miocic ends up becoming. So yeah, it's just kind of where it is. Chris Weidman, Eric Anders, obviously recognizable names. Chris Weidman's a former champion, but let's be honest here. That fight has potential to be real bad. So putting that on the main card is tough. Jonathan Martinez and Marcus McGee, sure, but relevancy, stakes, name value, it's probably is equal to, at best, to the Araújo Silva fight. Miller and Damon Jackson, maybe you can make a case for that, but I don't have really a problem with it, kind of how this fight card looks right now. So over under 500,000 pay-per-view buys. This is, we'll never know. I'll say over. The UFC has, mostly because of Dana pushing this fight down everybody's throat from start to finish. And listen, you got to go make your money. He's been out everywhere doing interviews with everybody. You've seen how they promoted this event, how much they have tried to make John Jones versus Stipe work. And who knows, this could be the one time where we actually get the pay-per-view numbers, because if they're high, Dana will be like, hey, I told you so. You guys said this fight was going to do shit on pay-per-view, and it did 650,000 buys. I think it's going to be a very big deal. I think it's going to do well. Is it passing the same mom test, the Publix test, the everybody's asking me about it test? No, but I did get people who don't normally watch UFC fights texting me today. And honestly, I think the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight stole the headlines all week. It beat the shit out of UFC 309 when it came to attention and what people cared about and what people looked at the website. Look at the YouTube numbers, look at the social media numbers. It is not even close. Tyson Paul smashed UFC 309 all week long. The one thing that Paul Tyson did for UFC 309 is that main event was so bad and it rubbed people the wrong way in such a big way that people are now interested more so in tonight. I've had people ask me at the gym this morning. I had people texting me. I had people in my DMs on Facebook and Instagram asking me, should I buy this fight tonight? Or is this going to be an old man fest in the main event like we saw with the Jake Paul fight last night? And I was like, I think this is going to be a way more fun watch. I think the co-main event is going to be, I mean, it may not be as, you're setting a high bar for it to be as good as Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 2, because that fight was unfucking believable. Sorry for my language. That was just an incredible fight. I rewatched it today and just to like get the goosebumps flowing. That fight was awesome. Chandler Oliveira is going to be that. It's going to be a way easier watch than the Paul Tyson card, especially when it went on Netflix. So I do think this is going to do well. I do think it's going to do well. 500,000. I think it does go over 500,000. I was out to eat earlier and found myself praying for Stipe to KO Jones. I'm not religious at all. Well, maybe if it happens, you will be converted. Did I make any bets tonight? I did. I made them real quick today. Really didn't give it a ton of thought and time. The ones that I've only made 4 bets. Like I didn't really go all in on the prelim fights. I have a bet on the main event that it goes under 2.5 at -135. I have Bo Nickel, Paul Craig under 1.5, -166. Charles Oliveira by KO, TKO at +225. And Karine Silva by decision at -110. Those are my bets. I wish I had more time to really dive in because I definitely would have placed way more wagers on this card. When are they fighting? Eastern time. 6 p.m. Eastern is the prelims. 8 p.m. Eastern is the second prelims, and then the main card starts at 10 p.m. Eastern. Under the radar, already talked about that. Why didn't they announce UFC 311? Is this something about the location of the Armin when he punched a guy in the public? No, it's a year. He got a year suspension for that, so or 9 months. So he's fine. He'll be fine for January. He'll be fine for January, and I mean that's what it seems like is going to be the direction of that fight. It hasn't been officially announced. I know that's what everybody's working on in terms of getting that fight together. I assume it's going to be Islam versus Arman Tsarukyan too, which is I cannot wait for that fight. But I'm not sure why they didn't announce it. I mean, we didn't find out about what was going on with UFC 310 until last night. And yeah, kind of crazy. Ian Gary stepping in to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. That is your main event. Well, no, your co-main event. People thought it might be for the interim belt. Not doing that. Kind of surprised, honestly, that they're not doing that. I'm glad they're not doing it, but I'm very surprised they're not. And shout out to both dudes. Shout out to Shavkat for putting his title shot on the line against a really tough opponent. And shout out to Ian Gary for taking no disrespect to Joaquin Buckley, but I think we could all agree on this, a way tougher fight than Buckley. And then Buckley's going to fight Colby Covington. So all in all, this kind of worked out for everybody. But 311, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we get an announcement tonight. Just regrettably ordered Domino's. What does Mike get on his pie? I'm pretty basic, man. I like protein on my pizza. Sometimes I'll throw some jalapenos on there. Buffalo chicken and jalapeno is a good time. Haven't done that in a while. Rock of the Diet Coke today. Yeah. Kind of a slob right now. Wonder if Tommy Aspinall gets crowned real world heavyweight champion tonight, or if it'll be a while before that happens. Yeah, I don't really know. We'll see. Hi, Mike. Do you think Jones' loss impacts his legacy and GOAT status? Yeah, I think it does. I don't know how much, but I can tell you right now, if Stipe Miocic knocks out John Jones tonight, everybody well, not everybody, but these chats, these comment sections will be flooded with John Jones was never good and all this shit. It will definitely affect the legacy. It will definitely affect the GOAT status. I don't know if it would be enough for me to say like John is definitively not the greatest of all time, because everybody loses fights. It happens. Everybody loses. You can arguably say, it's not technically true, but you can make a compelling case right now that John Jones should have 3 losses on his record. Almost 4. Like there is a world we could be living in right now where John Jones has 4 losses. The DQ to Matt Hamill. He could have been DQ'd against Anthony Smith. If Anthony Smith was any kind of a dirtbag athlete at all, he would have won by DQ and became the champion. So that's 2 losses. A lot of people, John Anik has said on many interviews that I've done that he believes, because most people look at the Dominic Reyes fight. I've watched that fight 3 or 4 times, scored it for Dominic Reyes every single time. John Anik understands why people feel like the Dominic Reyes one was kind of a robbery. He feels wholeheartedly that Thiago Santos on one leg beat John Jones. And going back and rewatching that fight not that long ago, I get it. I absolutely get it. So it will affect it. We'll see. That legacy conversation will be a wild one tonight if he loses. Thank you, Steven. What do you reckon who do you reckon Nickel will call out with a win? It's a good question. Who will he call out? Let me take a gander here. I don't know, man. Where do we rank Paul Craig right now? Let me look at my rankings. I have Paul Craig at 23 in my rankings. He is just below Abus Magomedov and just above Bruno Ferreira and Gregory Rodriguez, like in that range. I think he might call out Shara Bullet. There are rumors that Shara's fighting MVP. MVP first called for that fight during my interview with him before the Polaris fight with matchup with Carlos Condit. So it definitely garnered a lot of attention. People were excited about that. Kevin Holland wouldn't be a bad shout, honestly. I know Kevin's kind of bouncing around between divisions. I wouldn't hate that one. I don't think Chris Curtis is a bad call out. Be a tough fight. Like Chris Curtis would be a really good test for Bo because Chris is a scrapper and he's really tough. He's got incredible defensive wrestling. Yeah, we'll see. Martinez ain't winning, bro. We'll see. Actually, that might be another bet I place because I think, isn't Martinez still a dog? He is, plus 110. So I'm going to bet on Jonathan Martinez tonight as well. I forgot all about that. Thoughts of the updated UFC upcoming fight events in December. Shafkat Gary for UFC 210, Colby versus Buckley for UFC Tampa. Yep, talked about that earlier. Honestly, great. What a year for Pantoja. 2 main events, one in Brazil, one in Las Vegas. I have no problem at all with that fight headlining 310. That fight is going to be awesome. I understand people are a little hesitant because Kaya Sakura hasn't fought at flyweight in a long time, so he hasn't had to cut that weight. But he just hasn't had to. He didn't need to go to 125. So if you don't have to, and you could win fights at 35, like go do that. But he's gonna make it. He's had plenty of time. What did he sign in June, knowing he was gonna fight at flyweight? They were trying to book him to fight in Perth on that pay-per-view in August, the DDP Izzy card. Brandon Royval told me that they were trying to do a fight between those 2 guys, and they just couldn't figure it out to get Royval either compensated the right way or get enough people, make it so that he could travel with his team and all. So that's why that fight didn't happen. They were trying to book Kaya Kerr for that card in a flyweight fight. So I honestly don't have a ton of concern about Kai making weight. Should Charles get the rematch with Islam if he wins? Well, he would need to win, and then Islam would need to beat Arman Sarukian. So yes, the division just can't get past these sort of like 4 or 5 pillars of exciting fighters, which are Chandler, Gaethje, Oliveira, Poirier, and now you throw Max Holloway in the mix. Like, it's really tough to get over those guys. But look at where this division is right now. Go look at the top 10 of the best division in the sport right now. The only two guys in the top 10 currently who are coming off of wins are, wife's just like shutting the door, are Arman Sarukian and Dan Hooker. That's it. Everybody else in the top 10 right are coming off of losses. So this is wide open. If Charles wins, he will get a title shot. More than likely. I would say 90% he gets it. If Michael Chandler wins, he's 100% getting a title shot. 100% getting one. Craig Frodcheck incoming? No. It would be kind of, I don't know if funny is the right word, but it would be kind of funny. Favorite premium fight? Talked about it, Martinez versus McGee, but there's some good ones. Obviously, the Jim Miller, Damon Jackson fight's going to be real fun. Ruffy is the BSD of last year. If he makes a statement, UFC will give him a ranked opponent. I don't know if you could jump him that high, beating James Longtop. It's kind of tough scenes. But it's okay. Like, he's got time. There's no need to rush him right now. But there'll definitely be some interest behind him. He should run over James Longtop. I think, what is he? Let me look right now at the betting odds. Is he the biggest favorite on the card? He's not the biggest, but he's damn close. Bo Nickel minus 1350. I'm sorry. David Onama also minus 1350. Ruffy's minus 1100. So there's two guys tied for the top. He's currently in second, or I guess third. But yeah, he should win pretty easily. Has Chris ever won a fight in NYC? No, he hasn't. He has one in Long Island, though. So that's important. What else we got? Realistically, if John Jones wants to avoid Tom, yet still come out on top, what is the best way this fight goes for him? Razor close, toe-to-toe war with Stipe with Splitty City. I don't think it really matters. This can go in multiple ways. Here's what I think would be the best thing that could happen for John and everybody involved. John Jones, because this would be heelish as hell. And I've been saying this all week, so if I'm repeating myself to some of you, it's all good. John wins tonight. He should do what he's been doing. I'm so blessed and I'm grateful for this. And, being here is just an honor and a privilege. And he's going to say these things that athletes say, the cliches, all of that. What he should do after that is call Tom Aspinall into the cage. Everyone's going to go, whoa. Even Tom will look like he just got selected to be a contestant on The Price is Right. He will get out. He will high five his fellow colleagues and fighters and celebrities. And he will jump up there and he will run into the cage and he will high five Rogan. He will high five Dana White. It'll be the greatest thing ever. And then John Jones gets in his face and then he hands him the belt and says, you want to be the champion? Here you are. I'm done. I'm not fighting you. Alex Pereira, let's go. And then he shoos Tom Aspinall out of the cage. You got no response for that. You avoid the fight with Tom. You still get the fight with Pereira. You vacated the heavyweight belt. Tom's the champion. It would be hilarious if he did that. I would respect the hell out of it. I would respect it so much. Mike, if Stipe wins via KO, can you chug a beer or something funny? Bing rip, no. I will not be doing that in Command Center 4.0. I will. Don't you worry. If that happens, the reaction without any of that stuff will be worth it. Jed Meshew is going to be here. You know how he will feel about this. I will probably fall out of my chair if this happens. Jim Miller submission prop looks super juicy. Thoughts? What is it? I might put a bet on Jim too. Can't believe he's a dog. Like, I didn't have time to really look at these betting odds. I actually think Jim's going to win by TKO. Knockout or TKO. I think he's going to win with strikes tonight. Miller by submission is plus 900. KO is plus 500. Man, take a shot. Damon Jackson's really good on the ground. He's tough. But I can see Jim Miller knocking him out, certainly. How about the Netflix broadcast? What a disaster. Yeah, it was tough watch, but just got a press release. Here we go. 60 million households tuned in live for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, with nearly 50 million for Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 2 during the Netflix and Most Valuable Promotions mega event. Record-breaking night for Netflix. Additional viewership information, including total viewers, will be released early this week. 60 million households watched the fight, peaking at 65 million concurrent streams. Nearly 50 million households globally tuned in for Taylor Serrano 2. Additionally, the bout is likely to be the most watched professional women's sporting event in UFC history. Johan Promotion, a leader in premium live sports and entertainment programming for the out-of-home market, also distributed last night's event to over 6,000 bars and restaurants in the U.S., setting the record for commercial distribution of a combat sports event in the company's 50-plus year history. Look, it doesn't matter. It was a disaster. But 60 million, all you have to do is say 60 million people watched it. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Shout out to the Netflix chatbot that refunded me. There you go. Good for you. What's your handicap? The golf handicap? It's like a 12, 13 range right now. It's wild. My game is so inconsistent right now. I could go out and shoot 78 tomorrow, and it would not surprise me. But I could also go out and shoot a 94 tomorrow, and that also wouldn't surprise me. It all depends if I can hit the driver off the tee. If I can hit the driver off the tee, we're going to be shooting pretty well. Is this Chris Weidman's last fight? I kind of hope so. I mean, if he loses, this again, I don't want to sound disrespectful. If he loses to Eric Anders, he should probably stop fighting. That's just kind of the way I look at it. Eric Anders is a fine fighter. Had a great conversation with him. If you haven't read it, the man has turned his life around in a lot of ways. And it was kind of surprising to hear him talk the way he did, and to know that he was basically doing drugs all the time for the last 2 decades of his life, and still was able to compete at a high level while doing all of that, including playing D1 college football in the toughest conference in college sports, winning a national championship while basically being on drugs all the time. That's crazy. And then getting into mixed martial arts, flying through, getting signed to the UFC pretty quickly, and getting main event fights. All of this was happening. And if he even said, like, I just makes me wonder how good I could have actually been. How good could he have actually been? But if Chris Weidman, a former champion, a guy who feels like he can make a run at the belt again, if he can't beat Eric Anders, you should probably turn the page. And at the same token, if he goes out there and beats Eric Anders and it's a clean win, no controversy like the Bruno Silva fight, you finally get a win at Madison Square Garden, be a great time to call it a career. Did folks have an issue with Netflix broadcast yesterday? Yeah, everybody did. Roofie by finish. Yes, that's what I'm picking. Who takes the co-main and how? I think Charlie Olives by TKO again. I have a bet on that. KO, TKO, Oliveira. There you go. Fahim, Shavkat versus Colby or versus Ian. Which one is the bigger fight? Right now, I'm for me personally, I'm way more interested in the Gary fight. than I am the Colby fight. Colby Buckley is actually pretty interesting because I think Buckley can win. I think he could beat Colby. And what a weird year this would be if we end the year. The UFC's calendar year ends with Joaquin Buckley winning the final fight of 2024 and doing it against Colby Covington in a main event outside of the Apex. That's pretty wild. Will you take your pants off with Jed if Stipe wins? Jed said he might take his pants off. I can assure you I will not be taking my pants off. What else we got? John Stipe over 2.5 rounds. Thoughts? You go for it. It would not be good for me because I have a bet on under 2.5. So beautiful mic arm. Thank you. I didn't think I'd be producing and hosting at the same time here. Favorite bets. I'm going to bet on Jonathan Martinez. I'm probably going to make a bet on Jim Miller. I'll probably have fun with it and do a prop. Although I could just take him at dog money and I don't have a problem with that. But I might take a plus 500 shot on Jim Miller by knockout. But I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of happy with the slate I have. Jones Stipe under 2.5, Nickel Craig under 1.5, Oliveira by KO TKO plus 225, Silva by decision minus 110. I'm going to bet on Jonathan Martinez at plus 110, and then I'll probably place a bet on Jim Miller in some way, shape, or form at plus money. Do you think John Jones is a good person? Just go through his history. It's pretty easy answer. Mr. Shark, what's your favorite college football team, and do you follow the NFL too? Can you see the Patriots hat, baby? Let's go. So the downfall of living in Boston, in the Boston area, Massachusetts in general, there's not a lot of like big time college football. You have Boston College, but they are not good for the most part. Once in a while, they have a decent squad and they'll have like a couple guys to watch. But growing up in my house, we were more of like a BC college basketball family. Like we would go to games and stuff. We were a Notre Dame family. The Irish background and everything. We watched Notre Dame like every Saturday on NBC. And so I've always followed them. So yeah. But it's kind of interesting. It's definitely interesting being down here in South Carolina because they take college football and college sports in general way more seriously. It's kind of mind-blowing. Like my kid has these, sometimes they have like college spirit days, and my kid will wear like a Clemson t-shirt, and adults will be like, oh, he's got to get a different shirt. I'm like, why? Oh, he needs a South Carolina shirt or a Georgia shirt or something else. And we're just like, trust me, we don't really give a shit. But yeah, people take this stuff real seriously. Thoughts on John Jones starting a non-existent beef with Stipe and ending that same beef with Stipe after the ceremonial weigh-ins? Do you think he was trying to give himself a mental edge? So John kind of explained that on the weigh-in show. He said that he found a video of Stipe like a few months ago, and the context of it was he was asked about legacy and how his legacy. John said something to the effect of how his legacy is different than John's, and Stipe said, well, I'm not going to be known as an asshole to my kids or something like that. And that's the chip that John is using. So who knows? Maybe Stipe reached out to John and was like, yo, I wasn't talking about that. He was just saying, like, I was just being me. I will tell you this. Stipe in like an interview setting, like if I set up and do a Zoom interview with Stipe, the dude is prune juice. Like he's just dry and just nothing there. It's just like, ooh. Like it exists, but nobody really wants it. But you see Stipe without a camera on him, he is a totally different guy. He is funny as hell. He's got an incredible sense of humor. I remember which event was it? This is before, was it before 220? It was either, I think it was before 220 in Boston. John Vellante was fighting on the card, and Weidman was in town, and Stipe was in town. And I was like having a conversation with John Vellante, and Weidman was around, and then Stipe just came over, and he's just like, he's so different without a camera on him. So there, maybe it's just his dry sense of humor. I don't know. But maybe John is just kind of looking for that edge. Maybe that's just what he needs. Calvin Kattar has talked about this all the time with me. Even if a guy says nothing bad about him, he tries to find something for bulletin board material, like anything he can find, just to give him that extra edge. Losing to a 43-year-old Stipe, 42, is a much bigger indictment on his career and legacy that he lost asphalt. 100%. Stipe hasn't fought in 4 years. Mike, like if you scored Mike Tyson boxing matches in the last 5 years, like if you scored in the Mike Tyson Roy Jones fight, Mike Tyson has a more recent combat sports win than Stipe Miocic does. Put that into perspective. Talking thin crust. We're back to the domino stuff. Man, how far behind in the chats am I? Who do you think is the better wrestling and grappling at heavyweight, Jones or Stipe? Jones. Stipe's good. Stipe is capable, but John is outstanding. John is outstanding, even at this weight. Chandler versus Ortega, win or lose, just because Jed would love that fight. That's pretty funny. No. I have to look into something real quick. Sorry. If I confirm this, I will let you know. But this could be an absolute horseshit on social media too. Oh shit. Hold on, I'll update you shortly. This is fucking crazy. It's not good news. I haven't fully confirmed this yet. Oh boy. There may be a fight off this card, is what I'll tell you. But I want to make sure all the bells and whistles are the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted before we get to that place. All right. I'll keep answering questions while I figure this out. Does Tom get in the building? Yes. Does Tom get on camera? I hope so. It's a weird thing about having to like produce and do live shit at the same time. Yep. Okay. It's off. Eric Anders versus Chris Weidman is off. Fight is not happening. That's what I was trying to work out. They just literally announced it on the broadcast. I confirmed one side, but was not able to confirm the other. But yeah, so no Eric Anders versus Chris Weidman. Tough scenes. Medical issue for Eric Anders. That sucks. Tough. Very, very tough. A couple more, and then we got to get out of here. Can you talk about Jones not fighting DC at heavyweight because he didn't want to give him the advantage? He's always been unwilling to fight if he didn't have the advantage. Honestly, I don't think it matters. I think John beats DC at middleweight, heavyweight, light heavyweight. It didn't matter. I think John always wins that fight. So I don't think he avoided DC at heavyweight or any of that. Wow, people don't like my John Jones heel turn idea. That would be a heelish move, and everybody gets what they want. John gets his fight with Pereira. Tom's the champion. John's not fighting Tom. Like, I'm sorry. He's not fighting Tom Aspinall next. He might leave for 2 years and then come back and fight Tom Aspinall. But if you guys think he's fighting Tom Aspinall like International Fight Week in 2025, I got a bridge to sell you. Unless something crazy has transpired over the last 48 hours, I don't see it happening. Have you heard anything about the rumored UFC Grappling League being announced tonight? Well, I know Mikey Mushasemi has just signed with them, and he's got something booked already. I don't know if it's part of the Fight Pass Invitational thing or what. Not really sure. Yeah, Henry's off. Yeah, that's what I was trying to work on earlier, but it's definitely off. Jesus Christ. Some 1 million comments here. Can Mike show love to Veronica Hardy? Yeah, she wins fights. She's good, man. You put her in the curtain jerker spot, she wins fights. She'll probably win this one, yeah. All right. We're gonna get on out of here. I will give you my main card picks before I head on out of here. All right, here we go. I got Mauricio Rufy over James Lontop, KO round 1. Karine Silva via unanimous decision against Viviane Araújo. Bo Nickel, KO round 1. Charles Oliveira, KO round 2. I hope I'm wrong, but I also have John Jones, KO round 2. More TKO. Tackle, elbow, all of that. Man, just want to say I don't agree with some of your takes, but I appreciate Hey, listen, as I say, I am wrong a lot. I have no problem being wrong. The Bostonness comes out of me, like the Boston sports fan comes out of me into these MMA takes. So sometimes we veer down these different paths. But I am happy to be wrong. Like I'm totally okay with that. And I'm okay with people not agreeing with takes and what I have to say and thoughts on things. Like this is cool. I've had great conversations with people on social media with people who do not agree with me, and that is great. I love having conversations about having differing opinions on stuff, and that's the beauty of all of this. So appreciate all of you. Let me just see if we have fights underway. I mean, I'm going to roll out anyways. Don't you worry. 9:45 p.m. Eastern. We are back. Jed will be here. Casey will be on the 1s and 2s. And we'll have the watch party. 9:45 p.m. Eastern time. And it's going to be a good time. I think we're going to have a lot more fun than we had last night. after the Jake Paul Mike Tyson card. We'll have the post-fight show. Jose is in the building at Madison Square Garden. Could we see the former and soon-to-be next president of the United States at this card? Rumor, they're floating around. Could the Trumpster be there? I do not know, but we will find out. We will have a great time watching this event. So thank you all very much. Let's have fun. Let's stay positive, and let's see if you deserve. Being fans and watching all of these events, the good, the bad, the ugly. Is it too much to ask to give us something? Give us the funny moment. Do the thing, MMA gods. Do the thing. We'll see you later on tonight, everybody.